What is your metabolism and what can it really do when you're trying to lose weight? So, metabolism, to begin, is essentially just the sum of all the major processes in the body. And you might be thinking to me, what does that even mean, right? Well, in your body, there is a large amount of things that happen on a day-to-day basis to keep you alive. Okay, so some of these things are self-repair. So when you have a lot of different activities throughout the day, some of your cells get damaged and need to be repaired. So that's part of metabolism. Energy production, of course, the ability of you to take food and convert it to a form of usable energy, and then of course use it, is part of metabolism as well. So that's a very big part and a crucial component to metabolism. Thermoregulation, this is essentially the body's ability to maintain a certain temperature throughout the day. That's going to be part of your metabolism. And then of course digestion, as we just talked about, the ability to take that food you're consuming and convert it into usable energy. All of these are kind of a sum, again, of the major processes in the body. And this is a very simplified version of it. There are a lot of different things that your body does on a daily basis to keep you alive. But these are just a few of the major ones that I picked out to just give you an idea of kind of all the things that metabolism can truly encompass. So it's not just literally burning calories. It's the burning of calories from all of these different processes in the body, okay? So when it comes to metabolism, there's two different types of kind of metabolism we often think of. Anabolism, and this is simply just the creation of new material. So a great prime example of this is when we were talking about digestion. So when you digest food, you are essentially breaking down that food, right? So you're breaking down the food, that's technically not anabolism, but then you take that food and then make new material from it. You can help to repair cells, you can help to make new energy in your body, right? That's anabolism. You're using something to create something new, okay? Catabolism, and this is the exact opposite of this. So this is the breakdown of material. So when you digest something, initially you need to break it down, right? So you're being catabolic in that overall process. But then what you can do is use this anabolic process where you're taking that digested material and then making something new from it. And I think that's pretty dope. I think that's pretty cool because they're kind of going in tandem. You'll often hear anabolism and catabolism in regards to building muscle. That's kind of one of the most common things that happens. People will say, oh, I'm in an anabolic state, and that means they're in a muscle building state, or I'm in a catabolic state. That means they're in a muscle loss state. And usually these happen depending on how many calories you're consuming and if you're trying to actively lose weight or gain weight. Okay, so that's kind of just a general idea of the basics of metabolism. But let's talk about daily calorie burn, because I think this is where most people are interested in metabolism and what it can truly mean for them for their weight loss benefits, right? So the daily caloric burn that we have comes down to three main things. And these three main things are your basal metabolic rate, the thermic effect of food, and your physical activity. So we'll start with basal metabolic rate. And basal metabolic rate essentially takes about 50 to 80% of your calories burned every single day. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of calories burned, yes, it is. Your basal metabolic rate is essentially all of the activities your body needs to do to just keep you alive. If you just slept in bed all day and did absolutely nothing, this in turn is your basal metabolic rate, okay? It's not going out for a run, it's not going out for a walk, it's literally sitting and doing nothing. And when you're sitting and doing nothing, your brain is still working, your digestive organs are still working, your sight, your vision, all these different things are still working. That takes energy. 50 to 80% of your energy is from that. And the thing about your basal metabolic rate, for the most part, it is not variable, okay? So you can't change it. You are basically born, for the most part, with a basal metabolic rate at a set point. You can change this very slightly, and we'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the podcast, but for the most part, this is set in stone, okay? So that's basal metabolic rate, essentially all the daily activities, or not all the daily activities, all the calories that are burned from this are from just the essential activities in your body to keep you alive. And then the thermic effect of food, this is really interesting. Thermic effect of food simply states that it takes energy for you to actually digest the food that you're consuming. So you're taking in some food, but it actually takes energy to burn that food. And it actually takes about 5 to 10% of your daily calories every single day to burn some of that food that you're eating. So some interesting things about your thermic effect of food. Protein burns the most calories out of all the food that you consume. So having a high protein diet is kind of one of those good ways to increase your metabolic rate. Just a tiny bit, it's going to be pretty negligible. Carbs burn the most, and then after protein, and then fat. So if we're thinking about which molecules or macronutrients burn the most amount of calories just to digest, it's going to be protein, then carbs, and then fat, okay? And what I want to say about the thermic effect of food is, in the end, it's essentially negligible in what these benefits will give you. So in other words, if you are consuming food and you're thinking, I'm going to consume so much food and then it's going to burn a bunch of calories and it's going to offset, it really doesn't work like that in the end. Even if you're eating a very high protein diet, you're only going to get a very slight boost in your metabolic rate. So what a better option would be if you are trying to boost your overall metabolism is lean in towards physical activity. And physical activity accounts for 30% of your daily calories burned every day. And I should say this could be 15% to 30% of your daily calories. So it's highly variable. If you think about it, if you are somebody who's very sedentary, you might only be burning about 15% of your daily calories from that physical activity. But if you're very active, you could add another 15% calorie burn every single day. That's going to add up tremendously over time. So it's a very powerful tool. And basically the only thing you can really control in this whole metabolism and weight loss efforts, okay? Something else I did want to mention too is that men actually have a higher metabolism, just generally speaking. I think this is interesting. And the reason because this happens is that men simply have more muscle tissue, okay? So when it comes to a person's metabolic rate, the more muscle tissue you have, the more calories you will burn at rest. And this is kind of one of the ways we can increase that resting metabolic rate, which is similar to basal metabolic rate, but the more muscle you have, the more calories you will burn at rest, hence the higher your overall metabolism will be, which is a really good thing overall. So go ahead and give this video a like if you've learned something new so far.